on. I have to put in these to hear you.
It's fine.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, it's the 2nd of July. Until I was looking through my poetry just now, I was feeling a little bit kind of heavy and tired. And why didn't I go to bed earlier? And then I saw this this very funny piece, which I haven't shared with anybody for a long time. And at first I thought, no, you're gonna get in trouble for gender stereotypes and so on. But it's, I think it's, I think it's funny enough to try. So here's how it goes. You might recognize yourself in it. It's the story of Roger and Elaine. Let's say a guy named Roger is attracted to a woman named Elaine. He asks her out to a movie. She accepts. They have a pretty good time. A few nights later, he asks her out to dinner, and again they enjoy themselves. They continue to see each other regularly, and after a while, neither one of them is seeing anybody else. And then, one evening when they're driving home, a thought occurs to Elaine, and without really thinking, she says it out loud. Do you realize that as of tonight, we've been seeing each other for exactly 6 months? There is a long silence in the car. To Elaine, it seems like a very loud silence. She says to herself, geez, I wonder if it bothers him that I said that. Maybe he's been feeling confined by our relationship. Maybe he thinks I'm trying to push him into some kind of obligation that he doesn't want or isn't sure of. And Roger is thinking, gosh, 6 months. And Elaine is thinking, hey, I'm not so sure I want this kind of relationship either. Sometimes I wish I had a little more space, so I'd have time to think about whether I really want us to keep going the way we are, moving steadily toward, where are we going? Are we just going to keep seeing each other at this level of intimacy? Are we heading toward marriage, toward children, toward a lifetime together? Am I ready for that level of commitment? Do I really even know this person? And Roger is thinking, so that means it was, let's see, February when we started going out, which was right after I had the car at the dealer's, which means, let me check the odometer. Whoa, I'm way overdue for an oil change here. And Elaine is thinking, he's upset. I can see it on his face. Maybe I'm reading this completely wrong. Maybe he wants more from our relationship, more intimacy, more commitment. Maybe he has sensed, even before I sensed it, that I was feeling some reservations. Yes, I bet that's it. That's why he's so reluctant to say anything about his own feelings. He's afraid of being rejected. And Roger is thinking, and I'm going to have them look at the transmission again. I don't care what those morons say. It's still not shifting right. And Elaine is thinking, he's angry. I don't blame him. I'd be angry too. God, I feel so guilty putting him through this, but I can't help the way I feel. I'm just not sure. I never should have mentioned it. Now he probably feels cornered, like I'm being too aggressive, and now he wants out. But hey, maybe I want out too. I need time to think. And Roger is thinking, they're probably going to say it's only a 90-day warranty. That's exactly what they're going to say, those scumballs. And Elaine is thinking, maybe I'm just too idealistic, waiting for a knight to come riding up on his white horse. When I'm sitting right next to a perfectly good person, a person I enjoy being with, a person I truly do care about, a person who seems to care truly about me, a person who is in pain because of my self-centered schoolgirl romantic fantasy. And Roger is thinking, warranty? They want a warranty? I'll give them a goddamn warranty. I think I'll tell them to stick their warranty right up there. Roger, says Elaine aloud. What? Says Roger, startled. Please don't torture yourself like this, she says, her eyes beginning to brim with tears. Maybe I should never have. Oh, God, I feel so. And she breaks down sobbing. What? Says Roger. I'm such a fool, Elaine sobs. I mean, I know there's no night. I really know it's silly. There's no night and there's no horse. There's no horse? Says Roger. You think I'm a fool, don't you? Elaine says. No, says Roger, glad to finally know the correct answer. It's just that I need some time, Elaine says. There is a 15-second pause while Roger, thinking as fast as he can, tries to come up with a safe response. Finally, he comes up with one that he thinks might work. Yes, he said. Elaine, moved deeply, touches his hand. Oh, Roger, do you really feel that way? She says. What way? Says Roger. That way about time, says Elaine. Oh, says Roger. Yes. Elaine turns to face him and gazes deeply into his eyes, causing him to become very nervous about what she might say next, especially if it involves a horse. At last, she speaks. Thank you, Roger, she says. Thank you, says Roger. Then he takes her home. And she lies on her bed, a conflicted, tortured soul, and weeps until dawn. Whereas when Roger gets back to his place, he opens a bag of Doritos, turns on the TV, and immediately becomes deeply involved in a rerun of a tennis match between two Czechoslovakians he has never heard of. A tiny voice in the far recesses of his mind tells him that something major was going on back in the car, but he's pretty sure there's no way he could ever understand what. And so he figures it's better if he doesn't think about it. This is also Roger's policy regarding world hunger. The next day, Elaine will call her closest friend and perhaps two of them, and they will talk about this situation for 6 hours straight, in painstaking detail. They will analyze everything she said and everything he said, going over it time and time again, exploring every word, expression, and gesture for nuances of meaning, considering every possible ramification. They will continue to discuss this subject on and off for weeks, maybe months, never reaching any definite conclusions, but never getting bored with it either. Meanwhile, Roger, while playing racquetball one day with a mutual friend of his and Elaine's, will pause just before serving, frown, and say, Norm, did Elaine ever own a horse? And I suppose, to put it in its Buddhist context, papancha, mental proliferation, the mind's tendency to just go on from one thing to the next and elaborate. This poem is called Papancha and Potatoes. A woman wants some potatoes for her meal that she's cooking, so she sends her husband to the marketplace to buy potatoes. As he walks out the door, she calls after him, be sure and get a good price. So all the way to the marketplace, the man is thinking about potatoes and what he'll have to pay. If he buys the very best potatoes, he knows he'll have to pay more than if he buys lesser quality potatoes. On the other hand, the lesser quality potatoes are just that, not so good. In fact, he knows he'll have to be very careful in buying other than top-priced potatoes, because the seller might try to stick him with a bad potato, even a rotten potato. When he thinks of someone cheating him by giving him a rotten potato, he gets really mad. Why do people have to be so greedy as to stick me with a rotten potato? Just at this point, he reaches the stall of the potato seller and screams at him, you can keep your rotten potatoes. This is why we meditate. Learning to see the mind as mind. Oh dear. So that's interesting. Mood, quite a change of mood for me. Huh. Interesting. So let us come home with whatever mood is here. Let us come home and remind ourselves of the refuge, the refuges in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Sounds come out of nowhere. Hopefully, sounds that are in tune with each other. I take refuge in the Buddha, the way of understanding and love. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in being awake. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya.
Recording in progress.
And so let us do what's really important. Let us pause right here, exactly where we are in this moment. The body is alive. Again, or still, now. The body breathes. Each breath has a beginning. It has a middle, it has an ending. To attend to the sensations in the body is the short circuit papancha. The body isn't busy interpreting someone else's intentions or thoughts. It's just here now. And so we cultivate this mysterious mindfulness, this concentration, this curiosity. There may well be thoughts. We are all Roger and Elaine. And we bring to our practice a heart of loving kindness. we bring compassion. There's no predicting very well what state we'll awaken in the morning. There's no predicting what the news will bring, or an email, or a text. Whether our children will be healthy, or our partner, or ourselves. And so we practice with great patience. And so we sit here at the still point of our lives. It is here that breathing happens. It is here that the life in the feet happens. The sound of the crows. It is here and now that thoughts happen. The inner weather may be very quiet. This could be a time of great concentration, where the mind hardly wanders at all. Or it could be a time of lots of desire, wanting, that hollow experience where there's some certainty that if I can just get that, then it will be enough. Even wanting some particular pleasant experience in meditation is desire, is craving. Or it could be wanting not. The mind could be filled with, I don't like this, don't want this. And or restlessness, agitation, worry. We know the antidote. We know the medicine. Be aware. Become a little more concentrated. Lean into this incarnation. The mind could be full of sloth and torpor, dull sleepiness, or doubt. All these energy patterns have a life of their own. So we simply know them. This moment is like this. Becoming aware of the profound tendency, habit, of falling into trance, falling into some story or another. I think this, I think that. I am this, I am that. You are, they are. It's so simple in a way. Be here now with this breath, with this thought. Be awake. Take refuge in the Buddha. One of the trances it behooves us to know of is the trance of mood. We tend to project the cause of mood upon others. Because you're like that, I'm like this. Or sometimes we have self-referential reasons I'm like this because I. What if instead of that, you could simply notice this is the mood? This is the patina, the color. This is the filter through which everything is known. As we transition, we might remember, may all beings share in the merits of our practice. Of course, they already do. Each of us has responsibility for one little corner of the universe. And we can do something with it. We can help awakening to happen somehow. I am a little in the dark as to what will happen with sound just now. So, Jim, would you say something and let me see if I can hear you?
Okay. Good morning again.
Wow. Oh, I hear me too. Oh, well, I can live with that. I hear me all the time. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks, Jim.
Okie doke.
So I guess it would be skillful to invite your generosity toward, this is strange, toward PIMC. If these broadcasts are helpful to you, become a monthly donor or a quarterly donor and have the pleasure of it. That's the key thing about generosity, is it feels so good because it moves us in the direction of what's normal in a way. Nothing belongs to us for very long. We're custodians of things. There's a better word. I think of that with my garden. Each year the soil gets better because I'm very generous with it. Lots of compost. So the same is true with our lives. So it's Friday. I won't see you tomorrow. I'll be back on Sunday and then again on Monday. I mean, that's the plan. So I'd like to open it up and see if you have questions or comments. And see what I can do with this sound. I guess I'd also like to say thank you for the incredible sharing that there's been. Really all along, but during the last week it's gotten pretty profound.
Good morning, Robert. It's Joe.
Hello, Joe.
I had a wonderful meditation with you all today. And for the first time that I can recall, I did not refer to my thoughts as mine, but as an abstract mind thinking rather than I am thinking. And it really made a huge difference in my experience this morning. And I've been listening to that over and over, but I think this is the first time I actually put it into practice. So hooray for me.
Yeah, the thoughts.
Hi, it's
I
Kim.
mean,
Oh, go, Tim. You go.
no, you go.
Okay. Um, well, it's funny. I've been thinking about that poem, both poems this morning. I'll first say that I put in an adoption application for a dog. And before I say anything else about that, I would ask the Sangha to like send up universe energy for the dog. And then I'll talk about the fact that I love the papancha and potatoes poem because that's what I'm doing with this dog rescue. Like I'm having conversations with the dog rescue about why I'm the perfect candidate for this dog when I haven't heard anything from this dog rescue. Like there's been no answer either way about anything. And there's so much attachment, which makes I have a lot of compassion for myself for this is an easy thing to attach to right now. Oh, I feel tearful. But it's just so it's the gift of this practice is that I get to watch that. I get to sort of go into it and then pull back and watch it and go into it, go into the argument and then pull back and watch it. And it's fun. It's a little annoying to keep going back into it, but it is that yelling at the potato dealer moment of I'm not going to take your stick of potatoes anyway. And so, yeah, that's that attachment, desire. That's it.
Thank you, Kat. So we could have a quiet mantra. Make Kat get a dog. Make Kat get a dog. Make Kat. That actually sounds. I just realized your cat wants a dog.
As you're saying that, my cat came to my lap and is like, please, no. No, thank
Right.
you. I am perfectly content to be a
Right.
child, even though I have a sister.
Oh, that's very funny. Mr. Tim.
Oh, I also really like the Popancha story. We had one when I was a kid. We had one that was exactly the same story, except for instead of a guy going to buy potatoes, it was a guy had run out of gas and he had a gas can and he was walking to a farmhouse to try to buy a gallon of gas. And went through the same mental process and ends up knocking on the door and saying, fuck you, I don't want your stupid gas anyway. But it was a popular story that I heard 100 times as a kid. And it was halfway a joke, but it was a wisdom story. And it was so, isn't this just the way life is? And stuff. It was fun to run into that exact same story. And it's so much, so true. So true.
It brings to life the utter importance of the sacred pause. Incoming stimulus from outside or from inside. And then there's the impulse to act. And with meditation, we learn quite naturally that there's a pause, there's a space between stimulus and response. And that's where consciousness comes in. Some of you will be familiar with the 12 steps of dependent origination. And it's where there's contact, feeling, craving, grasping, becoming. That right here, where we're feeling pleasant, unpleasant, and unpleasant happen. Right there, following that, there's the possibility of a gap. And then we have an influence on our life. Plant seeds of our destiny.
Morning, Robert. Hi, Sangha. Robert here.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for today. I found the first story sent me into a meditation of the very thing it was talking about, proliferation, around the gender stereotype.
Right.
And it was a confusion around insight emerging and is this just this virus that keeps perpetuating itself, and to say something, not to say something, and just hello to all of it. How is Dharma operating through social justice? I mean, a lot was going on here. So although I'm grateful to have had the experience, I know his heart is racing, mind, it doesn't create a sense of safety. And that craving for safety and mutual trust, then which ought to be nourishing, becomes part of the object. And I don't know if it's an object of meditation or a hindrance. And it just gets fuzzy in there somehow. And I'm grateful to be able to have this opportunity just to bring it up.
Thank you. Is part of what you were saying that the story with its gender stereotypes is unsettling?
Yeah, unsettling, and it exists in the world, and it's part of what we all have to hold and act. You know, it's supremacist. It's the supremacies that are compensating for rotten roots, and then that just keeps proliferating itself, and it's just it becomes its own distraction, but it's also its own necessary action, right? So it becomes confusing, and then when it's in a community that obviously cares, it just becomes, there's an added level of confusion and desire to return to whatever was needing attention before the moment, if I may, of I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, which is so indicative of what goes on in my life and this life and the struggles and the compensations that come up, the places that I find that are found difficult to be present with.
Thank you. I hope you're making use of these sharing times, and particularly when it gets silent. How do I engage in conversation or in listening while staying really mindful? The night before I taught my first weekend retreat decades ago, I called Ruth Dennison. I was afraid I wouldn't do it right, wouldn't succeed, wouldn't have anything to say. And she said, "Darling, just remember your sitting bones." She would often have us sit upright on the floor with those two bones at the bottom of the pelvis. and sit there for half an hour or so. Really get attentive to the pressure. And as we sit here, it's possible, when there's silence, just inhabit the vastness of the body. It's tingling, vibrating. It's so alive. It's not impatient. It's not worried. It's just what is. I just realized I have something quite lovely I can share with you here on Zoom. I'm going to sign off on Facebook and YouTube because I don't want to get a copyright infraction. Lovely to see you